I'm going to talk about this Crunchmaster multi-seed snack, which I ate half a bag full, so that's 2 servings approximately. And that was just, I think that's how anybody would eat these, honestly. There's a recipe for baked hummus in the back, so you tell yourself, like if you're at the store or whatever, I got these free because I went to the Salvation Army Furniture Depot and they were giving these away. And so I'm allowed to take 3 items from there, and so this was one of my 3. And I thought I'd try it. But, you know, when I was gaining a bunch of weight, just after, when James was finally out of the water and he was recovering and I didn't feel like he was dying anymore from the cancer. And then my health went like really badly because I put all of my energy into trying to keep him going, and anyway, but the kinds of things that I was eating, because I was exhausted, and my health was getting worse and worse, and I was eating crackers, and I had never went through the cracker aisle before, crackers and cookies, and James had been a big fan of cookies, but not me, and so I discovered eating lots of crackers and instant pizza. I was eating a lot of that, and I gained a load of weight. I went from about, you know, it was a gradual rise from my usual 125 up to about 135, and then in a couple months of crackers and instant, like frozen pizzas, up to 145. And anyway, it's easy to do. The thing is while you're in the store, you're like, oh yeah, hummus, I'll eat this with hummus, and you're saying, well, hummus is healthy. Yeah, but this is 140 calories for 15 crackers, which it really adds up. I mean, like I said, I went through 2 serving sizes, so I went through 280, just, you know, because you're busy, you're doing whatever. So I picked these up and I came right home, and I meant to try just one. I did not. And I think that's how most people would eat them, is they'd just come right home and they'd eat them, and they'd have good intentions of the hummus, but that wouldn't materialize. And unless they bought that at the store and they just launched right into that too. But then, I mean, it's not that healthy if you're buying it from like a pre-made package. It's not as good, right? Anyway, but you're trying to convince yourself. You're like, oh yeah, well, this is brown rice flour, sesame seeds, and but honestly, this is, you'd be better off with making a good hummus yourself and eating it with carrot sticks, and just having that ready in the fridge. The carrot sticks already peeled and chopped up, and in a little bit of water just to keep them nice and crisp or whatever if you like that, and a container of hummus all ready to go. And you'd be better with that, and you know that, so just maybe it's a better idea to leave these behind, and or something like this. I mean, you might be picking up a different kind, whatever. But I have to say, these were yummy. Non-GMO, no artificial colors, flavors, vegan, whatever. But I mean, they baked flax seeds in there, which I don't think is a good idea, because I don't know what heat they use, but flax, it shouldn't be heated. And plus, anyway, unless the flax seeds themselves are ground up, you're not getting the omega-3 out of them. It's just passing through like roughage, which is probably a good thing for you, because if you're baking them, then it's not healthy anyway. So, but anyway, they were yummy, I have to admit that, and they would be good with hummus. But how many calories are you going to eat if you eat this with hummus, as opposed to eating carrot sticks with hummus, right? And which one's going to be healthier, this with the hummus or the carrot sticks? You know the answer. Anyway, so James and I are having celery juice with turmeric. Mine has the pepper in it. James has the pepper on his eggs. And what did you say that looked like on your eggs? You asked me, what was that thing that looks like bacillus?
Bacilla.
Oh.
No, which is to be the plural, I think.
Anyway, it's chives, chopped up fresh from the garden. And
I think bacilla just bacillus just means little rod, right? So that's what they look like. Oh, I don't like seeing other people.
I did
suffer.
it without water.
Yeah, I don't like seeing other people suffer. Oh, incidentally, I saved that dill plant. That's why I used up all the water there. Did you notice it was empty?
Oh,
It
I
wasn't
didn't
some-
notice it was empty.
Yeah. So it was tipped over last night. And
Raccoon must have got at him.
I wouldn't say that. I think it just tips
fell
over.
over.
Yeah, it might have been wind. I don't think it was that windy, but it looked like it just tipped over naturally. So I
Yeah.
actually moved it in. You see, when I tried to set it up with the stuff sitting outside, it tipped over again, just naturally. So I think what happened was, as the water got disappeared,
Oh,
it got more tippy,
Yeah.
right? That's all that happened. So-
Well, what I'm trying to do is see how the seeds have now turned black on some of them.
Oh, you're trying to harvest them?
Yeah, I'm trying to
well,
see
that's
if
a good
it'll
idea.
work out.
Yeah, wouldn't
Because
that be cool?
I don't really want to make pickles with them, which is what
I'm not a big fan of pickles. You
last
aren't
year.
either. Is that what you're
But
saying?
we have enough pickles, and yeah, we don't really eat them. We like the fresh stuff.
Yeah.
and-
Why not eat it fresh? You know, like
And as
when
far
you got
as
fridges, why not eat stuff fresh? I
Yeah.
mean, you know, I'm not putting this stuff down. Back in, well, I won't say ancient times. You know, like
No,
100
like
years
I
ago,
have-
it's tough.
I would like to make my own. If I had a root cellar, I would make my own pickles that were fermented and then stored like that, so that, yeah, then that would be healthier. But I
And
don't.
pickles
I
can
don't
be
have
sometimes
that.
spun at a part, but it's better to eat cucumbers just raw. They're awesome.
Yes, but anyway, as far as fermented foods go, we only have one. We have one like beer fridge size or whatever, the little fridge, devoted to fermented foods. But that's not a lot of space, and so that's really enough room for my kimchi and sauerkraut. That's it. And James eating some
I think,
sauerkraut
is
there.
way
He,
healthier than pickles.
yeah.
I mean, you get, I
For sure.
gather, a lot of the goodness of cabbage. And what else goes into sauerkraut that might be good?
Well, you have juniper berries in
See,
there.
there we go. So,
But you can
there's
put
a-
all sorts of things. Sometimes,
Sure.
like James likes it with all. I've tried all sorts of different combinations.
I like
And
sauerkraut. Not an
You don't
immense
normally
amount of it.
like caraway seeds, but you like it in
I'm not
sauerkraut.
I'm not a big fan of caraway seeds.
Yeah.
You know, I used to like various types of cheese, but that one cheese, what type is it? With
I
the
love
caraway
it.
seeds.
I love caraway seeds. So it's just a different. Some people like the flavor and some people don't, right? But anyway,
Speaking of
what I was
flavors,
gonna say-
oh, go ahead.
it's not bad. As far
Oh.
as juice with turmeric goes, celery's about the best combination.
Well, of course. I
Yeah.
mean, you put it with kale, and it is a hard sell.
Yeah. Or cabbage. And that's how I usually drink it, is with the cabbages.
Yeah,
or
the thing is, you gotta sometimes
cauliflower,
take
whatever.
take your medicine. It's like
Yeah.
medicine, really.
But turmeric doesn't taste very good anyway.
Oh, it's awful. So
And it tastes best in the celery, but
what?
I mean, if you mix it with cauliflower or kale or whatever, it's still going to taste bad. Like,
Do you think you can move that around? So
Well, there is no water in it. You emptied it, remember?
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure whether you'd put some in
No.
because
See?
it looked as though there was some stuff there. I was just mentioning it looked empty, and then I
Yeah.
went, no, you put water in it. So okay.
I didn't know it was empty. So sorry, I did not bring more for you.
No. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. I thought you'd maybe filled it up to there. I'm just not thinking clear. I just
But anyway, I was going to say with the sauerkraut, I was at Superstore the other day, yesterday, And cabbage was, the green cabbage or white, whatever you call it, was 48 cents a pound, I think, which is a good price. And it's so easy to make sauerkraut. If you go to I was mentioning I got this from the Salvation Army Furniture Depot. They also have a bunch of pink Himalayan sea salt there. You're allowed to pick 3 items. You could be making a lot of sauerkraut with that salt. Because you just need, or kimchi. I prefer the kimchi. But anyway, and I've shown how I like to use the salt broth for making other things like burger patties or soups.
I wonder if someone would get it if you had a character that liked eating fast foods called Patty Burger.
Yeah.
You'd spell it differently. It'd be E-R-G.
You could
Someone
spell it the same, and these days people wouldn't even figure it out. It's a
I'm
really
afraid
sad generation we're living in.
It could be, and believe me, it's people up to my age. I see them and they just don't know how to live. You know, people walking around, old geezers. Who cares what they look like? They won't wear a parka, right?
Well, anyway.
All sorts of stupidity. Don't know how to eat. Guys my age drinking down big gulps. And you just draw a big gulp looking at how big they are already. You know, wide load, kind of like. Should have a sign.
So, I was going to talk about this book, which I just borrowed it from the public library yesterday, and I'm going to return it. Unless you want to look at it. It's has very pretty pictures.
Well, it looks like peace and quiet. Doesn't that picture look peaceful and quiet?
There are a lot of pretty places in here, but it's
the bucket list, so it's where to go, eh?
Yes.
Wow.
And let's see, it was 600. Oh, there we go.
Any places that we're hitting on the holidays?
Yes.
Hey, there we go.
We're millionaires.
See, this wasn't
all of
scripted.
A sudden,
this wasn't scripted. But
then we're going to number 632, Thessaly, Greece.
Oh.
Isn't that fantastic?
Mm-hmm. This, I think, figured in a Bond movie or two.
Oh, did it?
Mm-hmm.
In the foothills of the Pindus Mountains, a spectacle of gigantic wind-carved sandstone pillars stretches into the sky. Perched atop these rocks are ancient monasteries dating from the Ottoman conquest.
Exactly right. So this is what you got to do to put up with the Ottomans, right?
6 of the original monasteries remain open. The most difficult to access and therefore the quietest is Aegea Chiada, the monastery of the Holy Trinity.
Hagia, or you'd probably say Hagia.
Fantastic looking.
Triad, it probably means the Holy Trinity or something like that.
And there are a lot of really beautiful places in here. But the reason that I did not care for it, and like I just flipped through the pictures and then I was reading the occasional little blurb, and every place I was reading it seemed like here, number 333, Casa Gangotena in Quito, Ecuador. This former mansion turned boutique hotel gives a blah 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 blah. So it's all about
a boutique
where
hotel.
you can where you can go spend some money, and it's
I'd say there's a boutique
306 Rainforest Spa at Sugar Beach.
A spa, like you can't go to a spa here.
Exactly, or whatever, or like you want to go to a spa when, like, just
go to a beach.
Go to the beach.
No.
Go to the rainforest if that's
beach.
what you want to see, or go to the whatever. Oh my gosh! Like, why?
Is
Lost
that in
and Found
Vancouver?
Hostel, 277. Eco Retreat.
Doesn't look very ecological to me, but maybe it is.
Bay Islands Underwater Museum, 267.
What the hey is that?
Weird.
Looks like a supermarket with 3 dimensions.
I actually think this is pretty interesting.
It is.
Mexico City, 243, Biblioteca Vasconcelos is one of
It's
the
a
most
big
polluted
library.
urban environments on Earth. The reading areas, the botanical gardens that have been integrated with this gigantic steel, concrete, and glass library offer visitors some much-needed respite from the sprawling cityscape that surrounds them. The garden houses more than 168 different species of trees, most of which are endemic to Mexico, while the library itself is of epic proportions. And
Well, that's
it's
good that
pretty
they've got a
amazing
library,
looking.
you know, like
Yeah.
they're trying to do something about getting some culture there. It's a so-called
It's a
higher
pretty
culture.
interesting picture if you look up. So anyway, there's all sorts of places to spend money in here, really. Here's some British Columbia stuff we could hit sometime.
Okay.
But we
Anything
don't
that
have
you've heard-
money.
Whistler Public Library.
No.
What's that about?
What? Oh my god, it is. I thought you were making that up.
Well, I could make anything, but I won't. I can joke, but I don't joke more than.
And that was number 203. And Falling Water, the Frank Lloyd Wright thing,
Oh yeah,
is in
that's
here.
famous.
it's pretty nice looking. And some pit in Alabama.
Oh, that would be a limestone kind of formation.
Looks pretty cool. That's number 113.
Okay.
Anyway,
If they had
I
that,
would
if they had
love to see this.
oh, that looks cute.
Yeah.
Where's that in Africa, Australia?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix.
Number 73, Desert Botanical Garden.
Oh,
This
so good.
140-acre garden celebrates the Arizona desert's natural beauty. From the towering cacti and brilliant wildflowers to strangely shaped succulents and unexpectedly lush trees. Looks fantastic.
There we go.
And this looks fantastic too, but I bet you have to pay a pretty penny to get in there.
You still have that pit there? No.
What?
I was just wondering. That was in Arkansas, you said?
Alabama.
Alabama. There we go. A little bit farther south, or deeper south. But yeah, you know, if they had one like that in Canada here, let's say in Salmon Arm, they'd call it Salmon Arm.
And I
Pit.
don't know how number 14, goat yoga, makes it in this book. Sure, goats are cute,
Would you do
but
yoga
I don't
amongst
know
goats?
why you need to combine goats and yoga.
Well, you could do that around here, couldn't you?
Sure you could.
Where's
That's in Oregon.
Monmouth, Oregon?
Just go ask somebody you know with goats if you
No.
can do some yoga in there.
Exactly right. There's got to be something around. Don't
Whatever.
pay a fortune for it.
Ridiculous. Olympic National Park, Washington. Looks pretty nice.
Well, it's wild. It'd be mosquito there. It's one of the wildest places in the world. I think if there's Sasquatch.
Oh, and this one was probably the prettiest picture.
Okay.
Lang Prabang, Laos.
Oh man. Good luck getting there.
Anyway, so why I'm returning this right away is it's a pretty picture book, but it's like looking at a magazine or something, or like a tourist pamphlet. You know,
Yeah.
we don't have money to spend. We want to see beautiful things, but we don't want to go someplace beautiful just to spend money. That seems ridiculous. We want to see beauty, not spend money.
Well, something like that could some of us easily cost $10,000 per person.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some people are really into that. You go, like, we go hiking up in the mountain parks and we see all sorts of, fancy places to eat or to stay the night or whatever. These places and people really I bet they're booked solid. They seem really popular.
Seems like a buzzkill to me, just
Yeah.
spending that much money.
Go hiking instead.
Exactly.
You'll actually see more of what you really went there for, right? I mean, you want to
Presumably.
see the beautiful mountains, go see them.
And lakes and waterfalls
Yeah.
and rapids and Just vistas. You don't like vistas that much. I like them pretty good, but no.
No, and what that woman, she was trying to say when she was okay. I got into something else. There was a woman that James caught stealing my cherries last night at 9:00 at night, and
she was foraging, according to her, but
yeah, she wanted to call it urban foraging.
Well, she didn't actually
in my
use
yard,
the term
right?
Urban foraging.
But you can do urban foraging on public property. The city will actually let you know where the fruit trees are. Look it up online. A lot of different municipalities. This just
we know one nice guy who gave us some jam that was made out of.
Mm-hmm.
I think crab
Some
apples
city,
and rice. Yeah, apples too. City stuff. Very nice guy. So you know you can do that, but don't do it on someone else's
people's property, especially somebody who obviously is poor. That's really rude.
Yeah, we're some of the poorest people
she's
in
this
Lethbridge.
nurse, and she a couple of years ago, she saw me. Well, I caught her actually trying to. She was. I was in the kitchen, looking out, and I saw her at my bales, and I was like,
she was going to go
I
after
went out.
her.
She was totally going to go after stuff. And so I went out and I started talking to her, and I was being friendly.
Yeah.
But I was trying to guilt her, and I was explaining, that I told her that I take turmeric and black pepper to help control the pain, and I told her all about her story.
Now
and
understand, she's retained this.
Yeah.
Because she remembered that you had health problems.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
But she didn't.
The guilt trip didn't work.
No. And she
didn't go down that route.
No. She told me about how she'd tasted my tomatoes and they were really good and everything, and I'm just like
she grows tomatoes for
I don't grow
the general
them
public,
for
just as a charity.
Nobody does,
poor.
So
I got cancer, and tomatoes are good for cancer, aren't they?
Well, whatever the
patient.
case, nobody grows tomatoes just for foragers. People don't go around foraging other people's tomatoes. Unless they're a total
lots
jerk.
of people do it, but it's theft.
It's theft.
No.
It's rude.
Oh, no.
Because it takes a lot of time. You don't just plant tomato seeds and have a big harvest. You grow them inside. I start mine in January inside. And you're having to care for them. And whatever. And this tree, the cherry tree, I planted it. I planted it 20 years ago, and I told her she was, when a couple years ago when I saw her, she was saying stuff like, "Oh, well, you just moved in, hey?" And I'm like, "Nope, I've owned this place for 20 years." And so she was telling James that she's talked to a girl who rented here a couple of years ago, and James is like, "Oh, you should feel flattered about that she thought you were a girl." No, it's like when men call other men boys. Would you feel flattered if some man came up to you and called you a boy?
I don't like it that much.
No,
I understand guys do that. Guys do that in sports. Hey, boys, let's go. But it's an insult.
It's an
insult.
insult.
I've had a woman. We were some left wingers. We were running a newspaper.
I don't look like a girl.
We wouldn't call women girls. But she made a point. She was she was a management person. I don't know. I think it was Scrappy Tire Mall. And we were wanting some advertising. It was a Crappy Tire, and so she was powerful, and she wanted to push us around.
Here.
So she called us boys.
What I'm trying to say is that she was telling you, she was saying, "Well, you don't live here." You were saying your wife owns the place, and she was saying you don't live here. What she was trying to say is you're a slum landlord or whatever, and she talked to the girl who rented here a couple years ago.
I don't think she had any clue that I had anything to do with it. But maybe that's what she was thinking as well.
Yeah.
At first, she just thought I was walking through that. Because I wasn't yelling. I never yelled at her at all. And I tried to guilt trip her. I think you're right. I think she's going
That's
to be
what
back.
she's trying to, whatever angle she wants. She wants to eat my tomatoes for some reason when I grow them. She wants to have, she doesn't want to have to go pay for... I don't even know if you can buy organic cherries in the store, but it cost a bit. But she doesn't want to have to pay for them. She wants to steal them off my tree.
There's something psychologically wrong with her, as there is with anyone who takes from poor people.
And she was a nurse. She made plenty of money.
She's retired
And now she's retired. She makes plenty of money more than me.
She is on the board of a neighboring condo. So she's a person in a position of responsibility. Let's according to her own account, it might not be true. And this is shameful. Now, she was claiming what happened was, there's one tree here that's like a volunteer sort of tree that came from the original cherry tree. It's kind of...
It doesn't matter what she was claiming. You saw her picking right off my tree.
Of course, yeah.
It doesn't matter what she was claiming. She knew very well when she was picking my tomatoes that they're not just like wild tomatoes or whatever. When you're doing foraging, like she was talking about, she's from the Maritimes and they just do foraging there. Well, wild foraging is a lot different than going into somebody's yard and picking their cultivated species that they planted themselves and cared for. That's a lot different when you're doing wild foraging versus it is. You wouldn't go wander onto somebody's farm and just start harvesting their corn or whatever they're growing and just wander off with it and say, I'm just foraging because I'm some wealthy nurse that has retired and I'm
nurses are paid very, very
I have
well.
some
understand here in Canada.
Right to take whatever I want from poor people. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
It was shameful. She was very embarrassed. I'm afraid she wasn't embarrassed enough for
because
not
she
to
came
do it
back.
Because
she'd done the tomatoes before. I gave her the talk, and she comes back for the cherries at 9 o'clock at night because she knows I'm an early bird.
Yeah, we're here around this time of year. 9 o'clock is just before dusk, so just before the mosquitoes start really biting, things like that. So she had it all set out. I think what she's been doing is coming here every evening around that time. And she brings a little yogurt thing, so it's not not like bringing a big pail. Now Pauline's caught at least one pair of people who turned up with a pail, right? And
with pails, yeah.
A pail each, right?
But usually people will just take a few or whatever, and then they'll walk on.
But this is industrial strength theft almost, when they bring pails. But at any rate, it could mount up if you're picking
And so
it up.
anyway, she says to James, she says, well, why do you grow them if you don't want people picking them then? And it's like, well, what business is it of yours why we grow them?
If we want birds to eat them, that's our business.
If I do.
If we want to make compost,
I mean, I pick them myself, but that's none of her business why I produce them.
No, don't get jealous of other people's stuff.
No,
if
just
she
go
wants,
buy your own property
exactly right.
and do the work of growing your own tree.
Yeah, exactly right.
And then you have cherries to pick.
20 years down the road,
but you don't
she's
go
93.
picking mine.
And she was wearing a little crucifix. She's a Christian. I'm afraid God can see at dusk. Because God apparently can see at night. In fact, his God, I think, is supposed to be able to read people's hearts. And wow, I don't think she's making it to heaven if gospel
well, I'm
is
not
gospel
in any
truth.
position to be
Well,
judging
we're not going to judge
but-
anyone because we don't believe in that, Rod.
But I can
the
say
deal is
that
she's not a nice person.
that's food that I'm growing on my property with my energy and with